We've talked for a long time about approaching a constitutional crisis. We are now in it. We are now in a constitutional crisis. Benjamin Franklin in 1787 was asked when he exited the Constitutional Convention, "What type of government have you given us, sir?" And he said, by a woman who asked him the question, he said, "A republic, ma'am, if you can keep it." Now is the time of testing whether we can keep a republic or whether this republic is destined to change into a different, more tyrannical form of government as other republics have over the centuries.
You hear that? If you stand with Attorney General Bill Barr, you're against Benjamin Franklin. That's what Jerry Nadler said yesterday. This is a constitutional crisis. What's really going on here? Congressman Jim Jordan was a part of that wild hearing yesterday, and he joins us now. Congressman, good to have you.
Good to be with you guys.
So what do you make of the chairman's behavior yesterday and what we saw?
Well, I mean, constitutional crisis. I mean, they did a 22-month investigation. What did Bob Mueller find? No new indictments, no sealed indictments, no collusion, no obstruction. And yet they're going after Bill Barr because they're nervous about the simple fact that Bill Barr said, "I'm going to go find out how this all started. What really took place when they launched this investigation on the president and this whole Trump-Russia investigation." I think that's what makes them nervous, and that's why they're attacking Bill Barr.
Do they truly believe that the president colluded with the Russians to steal the election from Hillary Clinton and he obstructed justice, or are they just covering, like you just said?
Well, it's some of both. There are some who, like Adam Schiff, I think, still believes there was collusion, even though it was obvious that there wasn't. But I do think they're nervous. Remember what Bill Barr said, and I made this point yesterday in the hearing. During his testimony 3.5 weeks ago in front of Senate Finance, he said some important things. Four, in fact, I think that really stand out. He said, first of all, there was a failure of leadership at the upper echelon of the FBI. We know that's the case. Comey, McCabe, Baker, Strzok, Page, they've all been fired, demoted, or left the FBI. There was a real problem there. Second, he said spying did occur. He said it twice. He said, third, there's a basis for my concern about the spying that took place. And then finally, fourth, he used a couple terms that should frighten. If there's a constitutional crisis, it would be the concern about what Bill Barr expressed 3.5 weeks ago when he said, "I'm concerned that there was unauthorized surveillance and political surveillance." That would be the concern for the rule of law and the Constitution, not what Jerry Nadler's talking about. So he's bound and determined. He's putting a team together to get to the bottom of that, and that's what makes the Democrats nervous.
Lost in all of this, Congressman Jordan, is a concern about the way Russia is interfering in the politics of the United States. And the reason I say that is because the total lack of curiosity among Democrats over how information was fed to the Steele dossier from Russian sources. Also, Liz Cheney yesterday, your fellow congresswoman, pointing out that what Democrats in the Judiciary Committee did yesterday is, quote, undermining our democracy and helping Vladimir Putin. In other words, that the Democrats, by doing this act, going after Bill Barr for not doing something illegal, which is to release grand jury information, are being stooges of Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, no, it's a great point that Liz made. Never forget, the Clinton campaign paid the law firm Perkins Coie, who hired Fusion GPS, who then went out and hired a foreigner, Christopher Steele. Christopher Steele did what? Talked to Russians and put together a document that was not true. Jim Comey's words, salacious and unverified, not mine. They took that document. The FBI took that document to a secret court to get a warrant to go spy on Carter Page. That's how it all worked, and that is scary. And most important, when they went to the court, they didn't tell the court important facts, like who paid for the document, like the fact that Christopher Steele, the guy who wrote it, had already communicated through Bruce Orr to the FBI that he was, quote, desperate to stop Trump from winning. And they didn't communicate to the court that Christopher Steele had been terminated by the FBI because he was doing what? Out talking to the press, which you're not supposed to do when you're working as an informant and for the FBI. They didn't tell the court those important facts. So that's exactly right. There was the coordination between Christopher Steele and Russians and using a document to get a warrant to spy on the other party's campaign.
So now what happens to AG Barr now? He's been held in contempt. What happens now?
He's going to do his job. I said yesterday, here is Bill Barr following the law, and what's his reward from Democrats? Oh, we're going to hold you in contempt. He's going to keep doing his job. And I tell you what, I think the vast majority of the American people appreciate an attorney general who's following the law and doing his job, and who is determined to get to the bottom of how this whole Trump-Russia crazy thing started, how this investigation was launched. So I think he's just going to keep plowing away doing his job, which is exactly what I want him to do, and I think most Americans want him to do.
On the issue of his accommodations that he's made for Democrats regarding the Mueller report, we know that he provided a less redacted version that a limited number of congressmen can look at. It's 2% redacted. Is it your understanding as of this morning that no Democrats have looked at this, and does that include Chairman Nadler?
Yes, that's my understanding. He is not. And yet he wants to attack the Attorney General, say the things that he has said and other Democrats. I mean, some of the things other Democrats have said about the Attorney General are just ridiculous, that he should resign and what the Speaker has said. That's just crazy. As I said before, I happen to think most of the country thinks Bill Barr is doing it like he's supposed to and doing a darn good job.
Can I ask you about Azra Turk? Last week, the New York Times report comes out, and we find out that yet another person was spying on George Papadopoulos, going by the name Azra Turk. Since then, we've discovered, thanks to the New York Times reporter who broke that story and others, that it doesn't appear that she was an FBI agent, but she was a, quote, government investigator. For whom did she work, Jim Jordan?
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know. We just know that she was posing as this Azra Turk lady. That's not her name. Posing as someone else, trying to get information from George Papadopoulos, who was associated with the Trump campaign. That's what you call spying. So I go back to January 3rd, and again, I said this yesterday in the committee, because January 3rd, 2017, then the highest-ranking official in the Congress for the Democrats, Chuck Schumer, is on the Rachel Maddow show, and Chuck Schumer makes this statement when he's talking about President-elect Trump. He says, if you take on the intelligence community, because remember, the President-elect was talking about spying and different things that could have been gone place. Chuck Schumer said, if you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. Now, I don't know if they used 6 ways to go after President Trump, but I know they used 2. The first one was the dossier, and the second one was one you just said, where they plant somebody as an investigator with a different name to get information from George Papadopoulos. That is spying, and it definitely happened. And most importantly, Bill Barr said, I'm going to figure out if it was properly predicated. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. And again, that's what makes Democrats nervous.
In 30 seconds, I have one more question I have to ask you, because when I'm watching this yesterday, first of all, I was cheering when you were speaking, but in my brain is screaming the entire time during these hearings. What's going on in your brain? Are you screaming?
Well, what's going on in mine is the fact that what Emmett Flood said in his letter last week, it is not supposed to work this way.
Yeah.
You tell me, was John Brennan, James Clapper, Jim Comey, Andy McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, Jim Baker, was their name ever on a ballot?
Yeah.
Never. And it's supposed to be those people answer to the person whose name is on the ballot and is elected by we the people, not the other way around. And that is, if there's a constitutional concern, it is that. Unelected people going after Chuck Schumer's words, going after the President of the United States. Why? Because he won the election, because that's who we decided we wanted to be commander-in-chief as the people of this country? That is scary. That's backwards thinking. And Emmett Flood's letter makes that point clear. And that is what scares me more than anything else. And that's why we've got to get to the bottom of this so it doesn't ever happen again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Representative Jim Jordan, thank you so much for your time, and keep up the good work, man. I was cheering for you yesterday during that
Thanks,
hearing.
guys.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.